Doubles and Coffee, Matt, Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, where are y'all? You see, because the fourth estate is very important to democracy. Journalists, professionals, qualified people. I asked some questions, for example, of Guardian Media Limited, the Guardian newspaper, its managing editor, who's a lady. I didn't know you were a lady. Kema Jordan. I asked about independent senator, presidential senator, Marlene Atz. What's your opinion on the surreptitious rehiring of Asha Javid as a head political investigative editor, freelance, and that journalists, qualified people, journalists, professionals with degrees, experience in researching and disseminating information, the search for truth under the principles of the Media Association and so on, and the code of journalists and journalistic integrity and ethics. I asked many questions, but it's silent. The media want people in public life to answer all their questions. I tell them me and answer not a question from them because they are not adhering to the tenets of journalistic integrity, professionalism, and pure media principles. They're not there for a search for truth. They're breaching the principles of journalists. And their answer is silent night at Guardian Media Limited, silent night at Guardian newspaper. Journalists are being forced to give their copy to a lady who is in love and in a loving, long-lasting relationship with a PNM, the former Prime Minister selected by Rowley, the former Prime Minister unelected, the man who still wants to lead the PNM. And that's fine. For those who do not understand it, me vex, the man could love up how much he want. However, journalistic principles, integrity, impartiality, bias, actual bias, apparent bias, these are very important principles and uphold the backbone of the fourth estate in any country. And once you breach those principles, your trust, the trust that you're supposed to have from the people, the citizens, is gone. And that's why Guardian Media Limited has the lowest numbers ever. They're losing over $15 million every 3 quarters. But they refuse because they have deep pockets. The Answer Macal Group. I'm not hearing from any of the Sabgas. You all have any opinion? Because a media house is not supposed to be politically biased. It's supposed to be impartial. Let's check it out. On top of that, Matt, so anybody could just turn on a camera like this, a smartphone, and them is a journalist? Or are there specific definitions and professional qualifications, education, and experience required to call yourself a journalist? So I could wake up tomorrow and just say, I am not just the highest qualified swimming coach in the world, level 5 ASCA senior and level 5 World Swim Coaches Association senior, that you get not only from passing your exams but taking your information, disseminating that, and taking an athlete under your control into the top 20 athletes in the world. Then you get level 4, and when you get that athlete into the top 10 in the world, then you get level 5, which I achieved in 1995 when Liam Martindale, who was living in my mother's house and training here, moved from a paltry 50-meter freestyle time of 28.29 seconds, and a year and a half later she was 25.49 and 5th in the Atlanta Olympics. She was 5th in the World Championships on the beach of Rio de Janeiro. And that's when I got my qualification. So I could have just wake up a morning, then do nothing and say he's a coach. No, there are professional standards and qualifications. So tomorrow can I wake up and say, boy, even though I have a master's in business from Heriot-Watt University, Edinburgh School of Business, that I decide tomorrow I'm a neurosurgeon? Or do I have to go through certain educational requirements, experience, internship, pass exams, study for years, for 7-8 years before I could ever be considered a surgeon or a doctor? We are man waking up and just calling themselves journalists, and yet the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago has nothing to say. A red man just get up and say he's a journalist and say that I vex that he talking things. The problem is, sir, you are not a journalist. You are not qualified. You're giving opinions. Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but go by the double standard and give your opinion. But to go and define yourself as a journalist when you're not qualified, you have no experience, you haven't done the work, and you have no information. On top of that, you're butchering the English language live on TV. So it's not that I'm jealous, my brother. You're not representing the country well, because journalism has strict tenets, principles, qualification, education, experience, and so on. You can't just wake up in the morning and say you're a journalist. But Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, all you're silent. So anybody, the coconut vendor who gets some sort of tickets, me know what for what, why, and when, tomorrow he could just say, well, boy, I do 2 interviews, boy. People come and ask me question. So tomorrow, I is not a coconut vendor, I is a journalist. Let me go on Al Jazeera, let me go on BBC, let me call CNN, let me call Anderson Cooper. Really? Anyway, so Matt, let me see. I did a little research on your mission. This is the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, their mission. Now, I have told you that the media in Trinidad and Tobago is the most corrupt thing, and that's why our democracy and our discipline has gone. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar is trying to get us back to basics. We have become unlawful. Trinidad and Tobago is an unlawful dump. A man could just wake up in the morning and say he's a journalist. This is madness, and it goes across the board. So it starts with being disciplined in small things, and then that will transcend and transfer and diffuse into the society, and we return to Trinidad and Tobago of discipline, love, respect, tolerance, and production. That is the principle. So there are not no taxes on the road. The fines, they are fines, so behave the law. I must say though, that driving on the roads for the last few days, I have noticed that the stress levels are down. You don't cost so much under your breath and think. People are following the law. People are driving on the left side and allowing traffic to flow. People are being more courteous. People are not wiling up and zinging and in and out. That's just me. All you tell me, if all you agree, I just find the roads have gotten a little bit more disciplined, and that's good. And then we have to get discipline in professionalism, discipline by teachers to work hard, discipline by public servants, discipline by coaches to educate themselves, work hard and identify talent, discipline by police officers, licensing officers to do your job properly, discipline by immigration officers to say good evening when they stamp in passport, because they are the first ones that foreigners are met with as they enter our beloved country. It starts with discipline, and Kamala Prasad-Bissessar has started it. So it starts with small things on the road, and we have to do that. A man say, people lining up by license office, that's good, because they were indisciplined before. They're running now to get in line, to do their thing, to do it right. That is a positive thing. But the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, where all you have man going on Al Jazeera and saying them is journalists and all kind of thing, just so. And when I do the research, Redman, I still don't know, you know. But men tell me he was a failed cameraman from TV6. I didn't understand the finger smelling thing. What you wanted to do, you must let Roger Alexander smell your finger, because that will remind you of where you used to be. Don't come and tell me about no smell finger. I don't smell man finger. Go and check Amory Brown or Keith Scotland or Hans Devines or Colmin Butt or Marvin Gonzalez. Them might want to smell your finger, not Anil, not the Douglas. Wrong man, boy. So when I ask you, Redman, for example, what's your qualification? How you're a journalist? Where you study? Let me read first of all from Matt, because Matt over the years has become a PNM party group. I told you all that. Asha Javid was the head of the Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago, while simultaneously being in a loving relationship with a PNM bigwig and trying to portray herself as an independent political investigative journalist with the Guardian, the Express, and so on, which is impossible. It's improper, it's wrong, and it's corrupt. So therefore, Matt, who has nothing to say, Ira Maturu was there. The next one, the one who was more PNM than anything, who wanted to lick Camille K. Pax. I forget his name now, but all you know what I'm talking about, right? Who PNM, but you see, they can't admit they're PNM. Let me read something for you from Matt. And Matt, I'm waiting to hear about this incident that a man just wake up and call himself a journalist. Matt, mission to champion press freedom, foster professional development for journalists uphold high ethical standards and advocate for the integrity and the independence of the media profession in Trinidad and Tobago, ensuring that journalists' safety and supporting their critical role in informing the public and strengthening democracy. By extension and by argument, if our Media Association of Trinidad and Tobago is poisoned, is biased, is conflicted, then the Fourth Estate is conflicted, biased, oppressive, and therefore it weakens our democracy to have a Fourth Estate like that. That's the point I'm making to you. These people are sick, and they are making our country sick and our democracy sick because there's no fairness and truth. Furthermore, the aims of Matt, one of them is to build and maintain trust between the media, policymakers, and the public, highlighting the media's essential role in democracy. Well, Matt, you're a complete and total failure, no joke. You all have become a PNM party group, and that's why nobody in Trinidad and Tobago trusts the media. They're not interested in the media, and all the media, the Express, Newsday, Guardian, TV6, CNC3, and the 13 PNM radio stations, their viewership is down, their listenership is down, their readership is down, and their circulation is down. Let me just also now define journalism, because anybody feel them could just wake up, turn on a camera, do a blog, and them is a journalist, okay? Journalism is a process of collecting, analyzing, and disseminating information in the public interest. This means it is a profession with a strong element of social responsibility. That is why journalists are required to follow the highest ethical standards: accuracy, balance, impartiality, and truthfulness, independent of any commercial or political interest. Anytime you have a political interest, you cannot be qualified or deemed to be a journalist. You can't go in a media press conference with an agenda, with a political motive. Then you are not a journalist, you're something else. You're a columnist, you're a blogger, you're an opinion sharer, whatever you want to call yourself, but you're not a journalist. The reason public officials have a responsibility to respond to questions at a press conference, for example, is because they're supposed to be answering questions from journalists, people who are seeking the truth, people who are not conflicted, and people who do not have a political interest. That does not exist in Trinidad and Tobago. 85% of the so-called media there is PNM, coming with PNM questions to push a PNM agenda in the most asinine manner. Furthermore, to become a journalist, degrees in journalism are essential. English, political science, or related fields are common with the postgraduate options available. So red man, smell finger man, right? You and Roger Alexander have a problem here. Why you attack Roger Alexander so? If the man so dotish, how come you want to smell he finger? Eh? But anyway, that's what I ask you. You're saying he's a journalist. I want to go on Al Jazeera. No, sir. I have done everything in my life. I am happy. The most qualified swimming coach, Olympic coach, world championship coach, world record holder, record breaker, Pan American gold medalist, best radio talk show host in history, TV show, commentating on radio for sport, for football, across the board, internationally, Olympics, Caribbean, done everything. Masters in MBA specialism, top my class. Okay, me, I good. And now I'm a minister in the government. You come in to talk about you as a journalist, but I want to do an interview on Al Jazeera. No, sir. I want to know how you become a journalist. I want to know where you went there for. I want to know why you butcher the English language and you talk things that you did not even know. You embarrass the flag. That's all I care about. We have journalists there. We have political scientists. We have professors who could have done that job. Me, I want to do it. And to the Guardian Media Limited and to Matt, What's going on? You see, our media is compromised. Our media is biased. It's PNM propaganda, PNM fake news media, and fireburn that. The country is coming back to discipline, coming back to tolerance, and getting back to production under Kamla Prasad Bissessa. So have a wonderful morning. Good morning. Bless.